Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I want to show you how you can easily install the brand new charge pipes and J-pipe from Kies Motorsports into your BMW M2, M3, or M4. Alright, so forgive any background noise. It's a perfect day to work in the garage. It's a little bit stormy outside. But hey, I am really excited to get these new pipes in from Kies Motorsports into my M2C. And these instructions will work perfectly whether you have an M2, an M3, or an M4. And if you've got the stock pipes, I really do recommend this. So for two reasons. Number one, your stock pipes are made out of plastic. So if you're running your car hard at the track or you're running a little bit higher than stock tune, you're putting a lot of pressure on some plastic pipes. And this is a great way to upgrade those pipes to make sure that you never have that problem. In addition, if you are going even further with modifying your car and you want to say run meth injection or something similar, these charge pipes and the J-pipe have meth injection port bungs on them, so you can easily add that feature after the fact when you change in these pipes. So the install itself is really not all that hard. Let me walk you through the whole process and I'll show you how you can do this yourself. All right, so one of the very first things you want to do is go ahead and take off the top plastics. There are 3 quarter-turn nuts on each, so just turn them quarter counterclockwise. In the corners, you're going to have those little plastic rivets, so pull out the center pin of the rivet, and then the rest of the rivet will come out. Then take and set those both safely aside. Really quickly, your positive battery post is here, and it's going to be uncovered, so always make sure to cover it with a rubber glove or something similar, because the ends of your carbon fiber strut are metal, and you wouldn't want to touch it. That would be bad. Okay. Then you have 13 millimeter bolts holding down your carbon strut. You'll see them up here at the top once your plastics are off, and you've got the 2 shorter ones in the front. Remember that the 2 in the front are shorter, and the ones in the back are longer. So don't mix them up when you go ahead and put it back. So go ahead and pull both of those covers off and pull your carbon fiber strut off and set it safely aside. Okay, so once you have all the 13s out, you can take your carbon fiber strut off. Don't forget your 10 millimeter bolt right here that secures the reservoir to the strut itself. Okay, so go ahead and take this and just slide it off. You can slide it out this side without having to take anything else off. So go ahead and set this safely aside. All right, so easy next steps. Go ahead and just take your vanity cover off. It's just on rubber posts. So go ahead and pull that up and set it aside. Then what we're going to want to do is go ahead and take the air box off next. So you depress the little clip and the sensor will come out, and you can just take this and set it aside. Then loosen up the hose clamp on your airbox, and your airbox sits on a series of rubber posts. So once it's loose, you can back, with this accordion compression here in the pipe, you can back the pipe off and pull the airbox out. Now when you do so, a really quick word of caution: don't put too much back pressure on this pipe. It's on a plastic connector right here with a 10 millimeter bolt that we're going to get to in just a second. But if you put too much pressure on that, you can shear it off, and that's a bit of a drag. I've done it. So be careful when you take this off. Don't be pushing hard back. Just undo this, pull the hose back, and then lift your airbox up and out. So go ahead and get all of this done. Then we're going to be looking to take our charge pipes out and taking the air intake out itself. All right, so now that the airbox is out, we've got a better view to the bottom of the charge pipes as well. Now you can go ahead and take this intake pipe out. Make sure not to drop your hose clamp. Bit of a drag if it hits the bottom of the car. Now you should be able to see right here, there's a 10 millimeter bolt that holds this entire pipe in place. So go ahead and take that out and then just lift this pipe off. It just necks down onto your turbo. So go ahead and take that out. And then also go ahead and loosen all 4 of the hose clamps up here at the top of your charge pipes. And then I'll focus in a little bit better, and you can see the 2 bolts that are holding in the bottom of the charge pipes themselves. All right, so let me freehand the camera here for a second so we've all got good lighting all the way around. You can see right here, and also on the back right there, we've got 2 E10 bolts, and so they're reverse Torx. So it's a E10 reverse Torx socket, and then you can back both of those bolts out. When you take them off, sometimes they'll stay in the charge pipe, sometimes they'll come out. Just don't drop them, that's a hassle. And then, you know, the other fun thing is, just while we're here, you can see my Kies Motorsports turbo blankets there and there that I installed and went through and have that other DIY for. So you got a good clear view of them right in the car right now. Okay, so now that both of your hose clamps, or all of your hose clamps for both of your charge pipes are loose, go ahead and take out both of those bolts. When both of those bolts are out, just simply grab the top of your charge pipe and slowly start to wiggle it out of the rubber grommet. If it's stuck really, really tight, you can work a plastic pick tool, or use a pick tool, excuse me, to work in between the rubber and the plastic just to kind of loosen up the rubber, and go ahead and back it off. Then go ahead and take both of these rubber sleeves off and all of the hose clamps and set them aside. All right, so with the charge pipes off, a couple of just quick things to check about while we're here. So first of all, make sure to take the rubber boots off the top of your charge cooler. Don't drop the hose clamps. In addition, as you can see right here and right back there, and also right there for the fresh air intake, we've got open ports into the turbos. So I usually use a microfiber rag and stuff them into the top of those to make sure I don't drop anything. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the J-pipe side of all of this on how you're going to take that out. So first of all, you've got your two coolant hoses that come up to your charge cooler, and you've got a hose clamp right here that we're going to have to loosen in just a moment. But go ahead and pull your coolant hose out of the clips here, actually on the intake pipe. The other bracket right here actually has a reverse Torx bolt right here underneath. I'm sure it's in the shadow, it's a little hard to see, but you can see it easily with your eyes. Go ahead and pull that out, and then you're gonna have just a little bit more flexibility out of your charge cooler, because what we don't want to do is have to drain any of our coolant. This will allow us to pull the charge cooler off once it's loose here and the sensor's unplugged, pull it off its feet and set it off to the side just enough that we can get to the J-pipe right here, okay? So pull this hose out, undo this little clip, get the hose free. You can pull out the Torx bolt, or the reverse Torx bolt right here, which I believe is an E6, but I'll check it in just a moment. Go ahead on this side, use your screwdriver, release that top hose clamp, and very often that rubber boot is very stuck down. So take a 90-degree pick and walk it around between the hose clamp and your charge cooler. And then your sensor right here has a little lift clip on it. So you just lift the little tab inside the clip and press the plug off the sensor. Okay, so go ahead and do all that, get caught up, and then we're gonna lift the charge cooler and set it off to the side. So this is actually an E8 reverse Torx, and as you can see, just the bracket's loose. It's just gonna give us a little bit more flexibility. Now this is a metal pipe, so you're not gonna be able to move it much, but we just need enough to lift. So I've gone and loosened the hose clamp on the side. Here's my 90-degree pick that I walked around the rubber boot a little bit. I also used my pick to lift the lever, the little locking lever on that plug, and then I just pushed it down. And it's okay if it falls down right now because we're gonna get it in a second. Okay, so now that that's done, you can just start to walk your charge cooler up and just be gentle. So it's on rubber feet, so there's one just popped free. Get underneath, you can pop the other side and just slowly walk it up off of its feet. And it may fight you here on the rubber boot side, and mine definitely is. So I'm gonna continue to walk my pick around to loosen up the boot right there, because it's mostly off of its feet right now. It's just the rubber boot that's holding it down. So make sure to loosen that up and then just gently get it up and free and tip it at an angle and set it off to this side so you can clearly see the J-pipe, and I'll show you what that looks like next. All right, so as you guys can see, the intercooler is up and off to the side. The charge cooler puts a little bit of a kink in the hoses, but that's okay once or twice. Don't do it often, all right? So now you can see the J-pipe here, and it's really easy to see with your eyes. Here's the top of the J-pipe and its rubber collar. Right down here, you have an air hose connected to the J-pipe. It's got that typical kind of round outer collar that you squeeze and pull. I would do it before you disconnect the J-pipe because it gives you a little more tension on the pipe. Now, in addition, right here, you'll see a little white tab. Use a pick tool to pick that white tab out. This is that skeleton band that holds it into place. Pick that white tab, grab it and pull, and then your J-pipe is free and you can take it off. All right, so as you can see, my J-pipe is almost off entirely. One more quick thing, there is a wire harness that comes down with a little metal clip on the back of the J-pipe right here. So you can use a pick tool to get underneath that little frame for the clip that holds it into place, and go ahead and pull that free. And then go ahead and take your J-pipe out and set it aside. All right, so I'll give a closer look on the throttle body here in just a second when we get the J-pipe reinstalled, but a couple of things that you're going to want to do beforehand. So first of all, make sure to check out my series on insulating all of your pipes, which is why these are wrapped. So I have a separate video on that, so don't be surprised to see this insulation on a number of the pipes as we reinstall them. But some of this is easier to point out before we put back into the car. So here is your J-pipe And a couple of things you're going to want to do first. Make sure that you put the new gasket in. And I would also recommend that you take just a tiny little bit of oil and put a little bit of oil around the ring of the gasket itself to help this slide into place. Because if it's not, it can fight you as you put it onto the throttle body. Now, when we put our clips on, your clip is going to go feet down, and it's going to go in sideways, because this is where the pipe is going to sit, and your clip is going to go on this way. So when you're in there, you're going to slide your J-pipe up into place and put the clip on into place. Before you do that, go ahead and put your rubber coupler on. It's a lot easier to do it outside of the car, and you can make sure that your hose clamp is straight and down tight. Okay, and it's in a good position where I've got plenty of the rubber coupler still to fit onto the charge cooler itself. And then also the meth bungs. Make sure that they're down and snug. Don't crank on them too hard, but make sure they're down and snug. You wouldn't want those to be loose and introduce any sort of boost leak, because that would suck. Okay, so basically what you're going to do at this point is just take this and slide it back up onto the throttle body. Make sure it goes all the way up. It won't quite click, but there's a bit of thunk when it makes it all the way up against the throttle body. Then put this clip on. And the clip should be all the way in and seated, and then go ahead and press on it. Make sure it doesn't come off and it's held securely. Okay, so go ahead and get this reinstalled. All right, so the J-pipe is in place. Let me kind of lean forward so you can get a look at it here. As you can see, the clip has come in here from the back side of the motor, or the right side, and it's gone in. Go ahead and reconnect your air hose down here. You press it in until it clicks, and it should fit into place very nicely. Now, with the rubber coupler, sometimes you want to make sure it's at the right height. If it's too low, you're not going to get a good fit and seal against the base of your charge cooler. Or if it's too high, then you can feel that the charge cooler is sitting out of position. So if need be, you can adjust this. You still have the space to be able to do so. Just adjust your charge cooler back over, release the hose clamp, settle it back into the right position. Now, the other thing you're going to do is hang your bigger hose clamp on here in a place where you can get to it, because obviously when you swing this back in place, you're going to have to pull that hose clamp up and tighten it down. I usually put the little worm drive on this side right here, because I can easily get a wrench to it. These particular hose clamps are 8mm, so I just get an 8mm socket on it and just turn it and tighten it. Okay, so go ahead and get your charge cooler reseated, and we're starting to put it back together. Okay, so the charge cooler is down and back into place, so make sure that hose clamp on that side is tight, but don't overstrip it, right? It just has to be really, really snug. Make sure that your charge cooler is down on its feet. You can see one of these in front underneath these hoses, and it works just fine. And then if you went ahead and if you loosened any of your hoses here, go ahead, put it back in the clip and put it back into these little clip holders that sit on your air intake. Okay, so then let's move back over to the other side of the car and start putting that back together. All right, so let's go ahead and get our charge pipes in, but go ahead and get your rubber couplers reinstalled to the charge cooler itself. Put the two hose clamps on, put the one closest to the charge cooler you can tighten down. Make sure that the couplers are in and flush and your hose clamp is tight, okay? Then also on your charge pipe, again, make sure to put in the O-ring, and you can put just a little light bead of oil all the way around on the inside to help you put this into place. And then we're also going to be replacing the bolts we used to hold this down. Provided are some new Allen bolts with washers, so we'll use those. So we're going to install the charge pipes, reinstall the fresh air intake pipe that sits in between, and that just pressure fits down into place with that 10mm bolt. And then put your front charge pipe back on as well and secure it all down. What I normally do is I'll fit this into place, kind of Tetris, wiggle it into place and get it seated, and then I'll get it fitted up into the rubber collar and get it all tightened down. All right, so as you can see, the back charge pipe is in place and secure, with the exception of, I'm going to put the new bolt in just a second. It is a 5mm Allen for the new bolts from the Kies kit. Now, the other thing is, if this is really fighting you, and I've done this both ways on how to get the pipe into place, I really do prefer to have the pipe in place and then fit the charge pipe into it with the rubber coupler. But if that's fighting you and you just can't seem to get it to fit that way, the other thing you can do is you can slide the rubber coupler down your charge pipe with your hose clamps on this side, line it all up, and then slide the coupler forward. Just make sure it's fully flush up against the charge cooler, then tighten everything down. And with your hose clamps, make sure that the little extensions for the extra material on the hose clamps is curved downward, and you can get to that easily on top. Okay, so just repeat the same process now, but also put your fresh air intake in It just pressure fits onto the pipe. Put your 10mm back in after you put in the 5mm Allen for the charge pipe. Put the front one in, get that all cleaned up, and we're almost done. Okay, so back charge pipe, front charge pipe, then the fresh air pipe, and put that 10mm back in to hold it into place in the bracket. Now keep in mind with the additional width of the insulation tape, plus a slightly different shaped charge pipe, fitment is going to be pretty tight putting that bracket back on, or at least it was in my case, but you just can be no problem getting it aligned, but just it's not quite as loose as it was before. All right, so now you'll want to drop your air box back in, and I usually drop it in the front edge first to get onto the air duct that's right here in the front. Drop it in, press it down into place. It puts itself back into these rubber grommets. Plug your air sensor back in, and you're almost done. All right, so the airbox is back in, and the hose clamp is down and tight. The sensor's plugged in, and we're almost entirely done with just a few things left, with the exception of the carbon fiber bar. Now, more often than not, when you put in new charge pipes, your vanity cover will no longer fit right. The back post will be too low. Your cover will sit kind of cockeyed because your pipes are now taller. Well, one of the things I love about this kit, they include a taller post. It's the only kit I've ever seen that includes this. So you can see on this back post back here, it looks just like this, except it's made out of plastic. You can take a crescent wrench and just rotate the back post off and screw this new one into place, and then your vanity cover is going to sit properly. It's such a nice touch. I feel like I've never seen it in any other kit, and I really feel it kind of stands out, as you can tell that it's an enthusiast that put this kit together, and I really appreciate that. So go ahead and replace that post with a new one, and then we'll put the carbon strut bar back on. One last thing I wanted to point out, just, you know, it's the little things that matter. Kies even included this little rubber bumper that you put on the edge of your vanity cover so it doesn't rub up against your charge pipe. Just really incredible in all the little details they've thought through. So with your carbon fiber strut bar back on, and the proper torque values for these bolts will be in the video description, so make sure to check that out. All you have to do now is just put the plastics back up in the front. They have little teeth that fit in the center. Just fit in and lay it down. Quarter turn those nuts, put the plastic rivets back in, and you're all good. And at that point, just do a last double check. Make sure you don't have any parts left over, anything like that. And if you don't, you should be good to go. Go ahead and wrap up, clean up, put your tools away. All right, y'all, so go ahead and wrap up and put everything away. You're pretty much good to go at this point, and I continue to be really impressed with the quality, fit, and finish of the charge pipe and J pipes from Kies Motorsports. It's just the little things like that back post and the little guard that goes under your vanity cover, let alone the quality of welding and everything else that goes into the fitment of those pipes that really is going to make it worth it. I also really appreciate the fact they include new gaskets as well, and you're not just reusing your old ones. So you make sure you have really, really tight fits, which on the charge pipes, those were very tight. So what a fantastic product. I'm really excited to have this in my car, and I would highly encourage you to do the same. Make sure to check out Kies Motorsports. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. All the tools and everything that you need will be listed in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Please click subscribe and the little alarm bell. It makes a huge difference to my channel, and I'll see you on my next video.